Alright guys, today we got a 2007 Toyota Camry. It's got the 2.4 liter motor. We are going to be changing the AC compressor and condenser. These have failed in this vehicle. Let's go ahead and get cracking. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drain the radiator out. There is a petcock right down there. Go ahead and crack that loose. I got a clean 5-gallon bucket underneath. I've also got the vehicle up on jack stands, and I'm going to drain that coolant in there, keep it clean and reuse it. Okay, I still got the radiator draining. I am going to grab a 19mm socket and a 1/2-inch drive here, and I'm going to put some pressure on that and break this belt loose. Slide it off the water pump. Okay, 19mm, 1/2-inch drive. Now we got our belt loose. Alright, next we're removing the alternator. There is one 10mm under this hot wire here that I removed. One clip here that you pinch from this right side. One plug here that you pinch from the bottom. And there is this one 10mm bracket that holds that wiring in place. That gets that whole alternator free from the wiring harness. Okay, on the rest of this alternator I had this 12mm bolt right on the bottom here that I took out. And I have a 14 here right on top that's still in. So I'm just getting ready to pull out. Once you get that one out, you might have to wiggle the alternator a little bit, but it'll shimmy loose from that bracket. Okay, the next step is to take the two 10mm nuts out of the thermostat housing. I've removed those. One came out with the stud, one didn't, and then we can pull that housing away to tuck it to the side. That way we have access to get to that compressor. Okay, now on the compressor there's just one clip that's right on the front, and then there's just also this one little snap that you have to unsnap off this bracket here. And then you get all the wiring loose there. You can tuck that out of the way. Then we can access our bolts on our alternator and disconnect our two lines, high and low. Alright, to now remove the compressor, we got four 12mm. You got one here, one right down on the bottom, and one right below that wire harness. I'm going to go ahead and break those four loose, and then we'll lift that compressor out of there. Alright, we got 3 out of the 4 bolts out. Just taking the last one out now. All 12mm. Okay. Okay, now. And there comes your compressor. Okay, this new compressor did not come pre-oiled, so now we have to look up the specs on how much oil should be in this system. Okay, this system holds 6 ounces total in the entire system. We are going to replace the condenser as well, so the only thing left that we're not changing is the evaporator. So we're going to end up probably putting about 4 to 5 ounces in to make it meet 6. Alright, we got the new compressor in, tighten the 4 12mm bolts holding the compressor on, the two 10s with the high and low line, change the O-rings. The compressor's got about 3 ounces of oil in it. I put another ounce in the condenser. And now we're going to throw that alternator back into place. That way we can get this top end done here and then start tearing the bumper off and doing the condenser. Alright, alternator's back in. We got the two 10s on the thermostat housing. 12 on the bottom of the alt, 14 on the top, 10mm on this bracket holding the wiring harness, 10mm on the hot wire. Harness. Now we're going to fish our belt back on, and then we can move on to the condenser. Alright, starting to get this bumper off of the condenser, get underneath the 10mm and take all the 10mm off the splash guard along with a couple plastic little clips I got with this black pick here. Get those out of the way, and then also clear the wheel well areas so that you can get up to the bolts that secure the bumper right up in here. Alright, here on the wheel wells, I got two 10mm up inside of that plastic there. And what we're trying to get at is we're trying to access that 10mm right there to get that bolt off so we can loosen the bumper. Do that on both sides to get that plastic loose. Okay, up on top here you have two Phillips head screws with little rubber grommets on them. You also have one 10mm. We have removed both 10mm from under the bumper. Splash guards clear from underneath. Then what you do is these are just going to snap out. I got the other side snapped already. You have to lift this top part of this grill up and over. And there you have your bumper cover off. Now we can access the condenser. Okay, we got our two 10s here on the high-low lines and the bottom of the compressor. We also have a 10 there on the bottom, 10 on the bottom. We're going to have to take this bracket off here. Another 10 up top. We have two horns. We're going to take the latch mechanism off, which looks like 10s on the latches and 12s on the horn. Take all that out, and then we will be able to get those last bolts out from under the condenser and get that thing loose. Okay, we got the 4 bolts out of the condenser, top and bottom. Could have went without taking the horns out, but I moved them. We're just going to leave this here so we can slide this condenser out the bottom. If you pull away from the top and go upward, you can clear that frame rail. You're going to have to sneak around these lines here that are kind of holding it. Tuck those lines over to the side. Slide that condenser right out the bottom, and we'll slide the new one right in the top. Alright, we got a new condenser installed, 4 bolts on that. Our 2 lines are hooked up with 2 new O-rings. We got our latch back together, horns are back on. I got the high and low lines hooked up. I'm going to start running a vacuum check. I'm going to pull a vacuum for 5 minutes and then shut it off and make sure we're not having any leaks. And we'll show you how to do that next. Alright, it's been 5 minutes, the pump's still running, it's negative vacuum. I'm going to go ahead and shut off both of our valves while it's still running. Shut off the high side, shut off the low side. Make sure they're good and tight. And cut the pump off. Then we're going to sit here for 5 minutes or so. And we're going to watch and make sure that we keep that negative vacuum. If those lines go anywhere near back to 0, you got a leak somewhere, so don't waste your time putting any Freon in. I'll give it 5 minutes and we'll check again. Alright, the most important part now. We've been vacuum pumping for 45 minutes. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shut both my high and low sides off while the pump is still running. Make sure they're good and tight. I'm going to shut my pump off. Still showing negative vacuum as of before, like we checked. I'm going to unthread my yellow line from my pump. And I'm going to thread that onto a can of Freon. Pierce that can of Freon. Open it back up. And then, very important, release the air from this line by loosening this yellow line here until it pushes out Freon. I'll put that puppy on there tight. So we want to get the Freon to come out of there. We don't want any air in there. See that? That's pushing get free on now. Okay. So there's no air in that line. Now what I'm going to do, the can's open. I'm going to take my low side only, never fill on the high side, the red side. Low side, blue side. Open that up. Let that refrigerant into the system. And we're just going to let it sit for a minute and work its way all the way around the system, move the oil around, and then even reach down and spin that clutch on that compressor about 10 times. Okay, it's been a couple minutes. I still have my blue side wide open. I'm going to go ahead and start the car and turn the air on max AC. Okay, now we can start to see the gauges going down. That means the compressor is pulling down, which is good. The can's about empty. We're going to let that just keep pulling down until that thing's gone. About ready for another can. Alright, now to get an accurate reading on your low side, you turn it off. So we're looking at about 25 PSI, dropping down to 20 there. Everything's still mixing the system. I'm going to get one more can going. My low side is off. Same process here. Put your new can on. It's tight. Puncture. Can. Open it up. Let the air out of the yellow line. God damn it. Air's out. Open that back up. Give it some more juice. Now it's taking more in from this can. It'll start getting cold. I'm going to shut that back off and I'm going to see where it sits. We're going to want to have this at about 30 pounds, 32 pounds, somewhere in there. And just let it run for a little bit and see where it evens itself out to. Alright guys, everything looks good here. I'm about 33 pounds on my low side. I'm about 175, 180 on the high. It's ice cold coming out of the vents. We're going to let it run for a little longer. Just keep a check on the gauges. But that's the job, start to finish. Please subscribe if I was able to help you. And please leave any comments you have or questions. I'll be happy to answer. Thanks.